Like to welcome everybody to our Morgan City Redevelopment Agency meeting. So I'm looking for an approval on the meeting's agenda. So moved. Have a second?
I can second that, Mayor.
Any more discussion or all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Denise, that's unanimous. And I'd like to, before we begin, excuse Jeff and Eric. They won't be with us tonight, but we still have a quorum, so we're good. On the consent agenda, the minutes of the Morgan City Redevelopment Agency meeting, January 9th, 2024. So everybody had a chance to look that over?
I have.
Got any discussion on it? Got a motion?
I'll move, Mayor, that we approve the minutes of the Morgan City Redevelopment Agency meeting of January 9th, 2024.
I'll second it. Okay, we have a motion and a second for the January 9th Morgan City Redevelopment meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, let's go into the active agenda. This is a land purchase agreement between Morgan City Redevelopment Agency and Doug Buys Utah Homes LLC. Properties located at approximately 125 north and 425 east. Resolution R24-07. So Ty, do you want to lead us on with that?
Sure. So this is phase one of an RDA project that we've been working on to eventually get an alleyway in the back behind the businesses on Commercial Street. It begins with if you remember, we had an appraisal done for one of the parcels back there, the parcel one that we're proposing to purchase. Been working with Doug on agreement to buy parcel two, which we had surveyed. That's kind of in a step process. So the agreement basically outlines it's the appraisal. We came back at 1653 a square foot. Parcel one, I don't remember the square footage, but 6,452 square feet, something like that.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, so anyway, that's parcel one. That's what we're proposing to buy for 1653 a square foot. Comes out to 106,000, and then we just rounded up $1 to make it 700. So 106,700. In the agreement, we outlined that he also agrees to sell us parcel two. There's still work to do on that parcel. It's combining two separate parcels into one. We've had it surveyed and identified it, the legal description, and it needs to get recorded when we purchase it as parcel two. The agreement says we have 15 months to prepare the property for purchase. And so we're just kind of doing it in a staged approach. We're by parcel one, parcel two, and then after that, we'll engage with the rest of the property owners and businesses to work together on a design of the alleyway that makes sense for everybody, make sure people have access, the parking's figured out, we get the right number of parking spaces and dumpsters work, all that stuff. And so that's the overall project. This is just kind of phase one and two. The property is going to be used as an inlet and a little turnaround that will help the alleyway function. So you can drive in off of 125 North. We have to maintain parking for the two residential units that are there. They have to have two dedicated spots, and then you can return back out to the alleyway. We don't have design and all that. That'll all happen. We hope to get some plaza and public space as part of that project as well. The other element of the agreement was the use of 2 water shares for future development. So if you remember, the RDA bought 5 shares of water. We can't divest ourselves of water, so we can't sell it, but basically in the agreement would agree that they'll be able to develop the property, the undeveloped property with the 2 water shares that we have to hit the water requirement. And any other terms? I think that's the gist.
Yeah,
but you reviewed it several times on the, and I was just looking at you to hopefully spur my memory. And then another provision is if for some reason property 2 does not become available, the agreement says that they'll return the $106,700 back and take the property, buy the property back. So that's our kind of our assurance that we get both. We kind of need both to make something functional work there. But we're just buying the one now, and then we'll finish the work on the second parcel. And then the rest of the property, it's anticipated on the alleyway would just be exchange of property for improvements. So the city's putting in the improvements for the exchange of property. We don't anticipate buying additional property after these 2.
Got just one, not really a question, an inquiry
Yeah.
on what's the holdup on purchasing parcel 2?
It doesn't exist as a parcel right now. And I believe, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I believe Doug needs the ability to have other interested parties relieved from that property.
I have to pay off the restaurant to free up that to sell.
So,
So
yeah, you can't divide off the property with the financing on it or something to that effect.
the
But
alleyway, can't give it away, but I can sell it for $1. So that way I can do my tax thing with it, basically get me.
So you don't,
well, once we get to phase 3,
Yeah.
yeah.
okay.
Well, there'll be a property transaction in it.
And that takes place within, so that's within a 15-month period. That needs to happen, correct?
Not the alleyway, just parcel 2.
Parcel 2.
Okay,
We don't have a time frame on the alleyway yet because it hasn't been designed and we haven't met with all of the business owners and businesses to get agreement on all the elements that come into that. We just really need to make some time for that. And then just by way of information, the RDA fund balance right now, I believe is 237,000. The grant will go towards the improvements on the alleyway, but we're not allowed to use grant dollars for purchasing property. So this is just strictly coming out of the property purchase is strictly out of the RDA fund. So we have the money set aside.
I have a few questions.
Okay.
Why don't we just wait till everything's in order and buy both parcels at the same time?
So we've been working in the negotiation, we've been working with Doug, and the proceeds from the sale of this first property allows him to free up the second property.
I mean, couldn't that via a title company happen concurrently? Couldn't we say, here's the purchase of 2 properties, here's the cash. That cash goes to free up those other, that other remaining amount, and whatever's left over goes to Doug.
Yeah, so not getting too far into speaking out of turn, but there's a time frame where he has a March deadline to refinance a line of credit. So we've just agreed as the purchaser to accommodate the needs of the seller in order to make all that happen. That's why we've agreed that if we don't make the second parcel happen, then he'll buy it back. So
I owe more than that on the property that needs freed up, so I've got some other, so I have some other transactions that need to happen to free up enough money to sell that second parcel, or I would be instantaneous. So that's all in the works, but it all has to happen within that 15 months, and it won't take that long, but that's just where we're at.
I've got some specifics here, but just back to the big picture. Yeah, I mean, it appears to me that there's quite a few events that have to happen after the parcel one is purchased. And it almost like everything has to fall into line in order for it to take place. Stuff happens and a lot of times it doesn't have, what needs to happen doesn't. Does that, I mean, it seemed like there's some risk on our part, and I'll get into maybe a little bit more detail what I'm talking about in doing it that way. So it says on the land purchase agreement partway, about 2/3 way down, the seller and agency acknowledge purchase. Then we talk about the parcel 2 happening within 15 months. Where does the 15 months come from?
just agreed upon timeframe for the property to get freed up, and then so it doesn't hinder our project.
I mean, could that be shortened?
It's
It could on our end for sure.
15 months from when we close on the first parcel. So that starts the clock there. And I don't anticipate taking that long. That would be like worst case scenario, but I'm selling some other properties, and but it'll happen. But that's just a little safe for me. And if it wasn't to happen, I'm on the hook to buy the other parcel back, and there's 10% interest. So we're kind of covered, I think.
And on the city side, we're not gonna wait to start design work and all that for parcel 2. Once we have this agreement and parcel 1 and 2 are committed, and if for some reason those properties fall out, we can still do the alleyway. We just won't have the patio space.
So back to the big picture,
Mhm.
talk about the trust deed note and the accompanied trust deed. What's going on there? How does that play in?
That's a Gary question.
So RDAs often do it this way in order to get projects improved and completed. But we want to make sure that the city's covered, that there's security. And so I recommended to Ty that we do a trust deed with a note against the property so that it's guaranteed that we will get the money back because it's secured by the property itself. It'll be secured, and all the owners of property 2 or parcel 2, even though they're trying to pull that together into a single parcel and separate some pieces off from others, all the owners will have signed that trust deed note. And you're aware in the banking industry that a note is a note. And if they don't perform under the note, in 15 months, we get the money. And we're not going to release that note until we do get the money. So it's just a guarantee that what they have agreed to do in the agreement, which is to allow us to purchase parcel 2, will be accomplished. And it's not just a handshake or not just depending on this agreement for it to happen, but we actually have security in place, just like a deed against your home or a note and a deed trustee.
It's uncommon in an RDA arrangement.
No, we just actually did that in Layton. We did that with a large project we got in the east of the base. We wanted to guarantee that the company that was coming in and that we were giving some money to, a lot of money to grade that property, would actually build a building that would house employees. And so we actually took a trustee note from the company that was building the building, which will not be released until such time as that building is completed and filled. And that the city can call it at the end of a period of time if they fail to accomplish that. So it's a way of redevelopment agencies guaranteeing performance on the other end. That's kind of what we, what we've
Maybe
done.
not unlike a bond, here, instead of in lieu of cash, here's a piece of property.
Yeah, very well.
Okay. So in particular, then the trust deed and the trust deed is securing the note, and that's on the second parcel?
It'll be on all the owners against all the owners in the second parcel. I think there's multiple owners, aren't there, in the second parcel, or two owners, or
Two owners.
Two owners.
And there's a note on it that first I'm paying off, so, yeah.
so they will sign a note. Both owners will sign this note. And then that will become an encumbrance on the property before it can be sold. They have to pay off our note.
So if we get to the end of 15 months and we're unable to purchase the parcel 2, and there's an agreement to buy parcel 1 back, is that correct?
Yes.
If, and I'm going to refer, Doug, not to you in particular, but to just the borrower on a promissory note, if you will. If the borrower cannot perform and doesn't have the cash to pay it back, then our alternative is taking the
Foreclose on the note.
property. Okay. But I guess I have a little bit of concern there in that and I've expressed that before, what's the value of the property if it isn't, it seems to be of more value to perhaps to us in our project than it would be to somebody else.
Yeah, we're not wanting to purchase the property, or excuse me, no, we're not wanting to take the property back unless 1 and 2 could be combined together to do what we're trying to accomplish in the RDA. So if 2 can be, if
Okay.
one's purchased,
Okay, so 1's purchased, so that's ours.
and then the second one, without the second one, it wouldn't be as good for us. It may be useful to us, but it wouldn't be as
Right.
good for us. So we have the option of, first of all, Doug has the option of paying off the note, and getting the property from essentially freed up and getting property from parcel 1 back.
So that would go
He gives us a
back.
check for 106,000 and we give him the parcel 1 back.
Okay.
If he says, I can't give you a check for $106,000, well, that presents a problem for the city. However, we have a trust deed note on the property, so we would foreclose on the note and we would take the parcel of property in payment for that
Parcel 1 and
parcel
2?
and parcel 2.
Parcel 1 and 2
Yeah.
is security for the.
We've already paid for 1.
Right.
It would be parcel 2 that we're planning on getting in the future. And we didn't want to just do that on a handshake. And Doug's been good to agree to this.
So that would,
It'd accomplish what we want to accomplish,
that,
even if he can't pay the,
so that provides the city then with both parcel 1 and parcel 2.
correct.
Parcel 2 becomes collateral?
It is collateral.
This is
Mhm.
collateral.
That's what we've done, is collateralize parcel 2.
And that also includes the 2 that are in agreement with that? There's 2 other owners, correct?
I mean, they
Yes.
have to. if they
Yeah.
sign it up.
Everybody
Once they sign it.
within the legal description of parcel 2 is going to have to sign the note.
This approval process is our end of it.
Yeah,
And so if we don't get signatures on the other end, or,
does it look like the signatures will be there?
What was this?
Does it look like the other 2 signatures will sign on this?
On the
Yeah,
note.
the owners will sign, and it'll also encumber the restaurant. So it's like well over $1.5 million of property that is backing this. So you guys are not going to get a hold of my restaurant. I'm telling you now.
Does parcel 2 have, as we're seeing it on the map here on my screen, is parcel 2, I assume it hasn't been, I assume it hasn't been surveyed, or has it?
it's been surveyed.
But there are other owners inside of parcel two as I'm seeing it on my map, correct?
So the,
Looks like.
the parcel, the parts have been surveyed, hasn't been recorded. So right now, when we're talking about parcel two, it includes the restaurant and everybody on the current property. We're carving off a section and calling it parcel two. And that's some of the work that still needs to be done, but as of now, he's agreeing to encumber the property as it is today.
So, but all of parcel, oh, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
all of parcel two, as I'm looking at it here, does not belong to you at this time, right? Or is that correct, or am I
Well,
incorrect?
we own it, but it's also encumbered.
Okay,
So,
I'll go with like, what, like?
yeah, so I've got to pay it off, split off the land for you guys. And then I will own the building and the two apartments and stuff that I've redone.
So parcel two has liens on it.
Right, right.
Parcel one is free and clear.
It's free and clear. So that'll take care of that. If you want me to follow the money trail, basically, yeah, I'll be, with this money, and, you know, I've got to come up with about $600,000 because we're also going to put the road, it'll go around the front of the restaurant. So I'm going to do quite a bit of cash raising. But anyways, I got to pay off the restaurant and stuff so you guys can buy the second parcel. The land where the alleyway is going to go will be free and clear. I'll sell that to you guys for $1. You guys will put in that roadway there. And so there is a few moving parts, but you guys are going to be able to have a note against the restaurant that all those parcels that were attached to it. And, you know, very low LTV on that. So
When
you
you're
guys are
talking
very,
about-
very safe.
When you're talking about the alleyway, turn around and point that out on the map to me.
So there's going to be a road going off here and back through here and around. And then this, it's not quite all the way designed. That's another phase, but I think what I has envisioned is coming in here and be able to come back out this way, something like that. But there will be some parking provided here for the future businesses along here. And, you know, you've got Gary's place here. Once this is developed, you know, right now they're parking on my property here, but that'll provide parking for them as well. I mean, it's just going to provide a lot of parking for all the businesses in there because especially once this is all developed, we want to be able to provide parking for everyone that needs it. And so it's not just for me, it's for Gary. It's when this is developed, John and the Vallis. So it's really it's definitely a win for the city and all the people along there. You know, there's a few parts to it, but you guys are covering the second property. And like I said, there's very low LTV on that. And I think it's a safe position for you to be in.
Okay, back Gary to the parcels being used as security or collateral. I think I've heard reference that there's some liens against parcel two. Is that correct? You still have some money. So how do we know that's of any value to us?
So the lien holders would have to sign off on it as well. So whoever has liens is
So that
going to
would,
sign off.
so
on
in
it as
other
well,
words,
too.
they're subordinate to our position?
That would be correct.
Okay. So I guess the question still begs though, why don't we just take the proceeds from this and pay off to the degree that it will? And I realize there may be more than still that is needed, but why don't we just take our proceeds and put them on parcel two's liens as far as it'll go? Because from what I'm hearing, that's what we're going to do anyway. I mean, why don't we do that at closing?
So there's got to be some things that happen, some kind of pieces that need to fall into place first. One of them would be that there does have to be a division of the property, lot split through the planning commission. So that's going to take some time. Doug wants to get this done, at least the property value or that $106,000. So he could begin to work with the lender or, the mortgage that he has on parcel 2 so that we can actually proceed forward and get parcel 2, obtain parcel 2.
Could
All
money,
those things have to fall in together. Likelihood of them coming together on the same day is
okay,
just not real good.
okay,
So
fair enough. Could money be escrowed for that purpose?
So money from
The
the sale
proceeds
of
of parcel
parcel
1.
1. Well, I'm trying to think of how you'd escrow that money for
agreement.
that purpose. That's the reason we've got the deed of trust, is because the money has to go to the bank or whoever has
Okay.
the mortgage to pay that off on 1. And so, and then he can use that money, I guess, to purchase 2. That's what he can do. I'm trying to think of,
Just, I mean, in
How you'd
appearance,
escrow
that's
that.
what's going to happen. If that's
yeah,
what we all intend to happen on both sides, can we just make the cheese binding?
well, that's kind of what the note was intended to do, was to act as an escrow for us. We would have to take the one additional step to foreclosing on the note, but with the money's there, the value is greater, much greater than on those properties than what we're guaranteeing.
Maybe I don't understand. Then we purchased property for 106,000.
Right.
We have a check that's cut.
uh,
We hand that
To
to
Doug.
the
Or to the buyer.
buyer. He's free to do with it what he wants.
Mhm.
But didn't we all agree that we want it to go onto that parcel 2 eventually?
Well, we want the second parcel, but in the negotiations, that's why we're following the path, because those are the terms that we agreed to just on the path forward. So if we wait, then the likelihood that we get it done is a lot less,
Well,
right? Because whatever he does with the check, we don't care, to be honest. But in 15 months, the property has to be available, and if not, we have the
I think,
property.
That's what the,
I'm not sure I understand why we don't care. I mean, it seems to me
mean-
that we do care because we want the project to go through.
But if it's the actual check that he takes over to, that's what I'm saying. He might take that money and do multiple other transactions with it. I don't know why that's such a
So,
the money trail. I don't know why it's such a important.
so
obligation.
in my simple mind, I had about the exact same thing purchasing a parking lot at my business in Washington Terrace. And the way I'm understanding this in my mind is that if he forfeits on the 15-month thing, then parcel 1's ours and parcel 2,
Mhm.
as long as we have the other 2 property owners agreeing to it.
That's correct.
So it's
We don't have to pay for parcel 2 because we foreclosed.
Foreclose on it.
and so it's now, if Doug wants to go on a cruise for $107,000, that's his right. We can't, in my opinion, we can't say, oh, no, you got to do this with this money, because when we cut the check, it's his money.
Mhm.
But we're protected by the way the terms are, that if it doesn't happen in 15 months, then we have both parcels of property basically for 107,000.
That's correct.
So, and I probably misspoke too on just accommodating in the negotiations. Our interest in this path forward is to lock up the property so we can start design work. If we waited, like I'm not gonna pay engineering and all of that if we don't know what we're tying into until we have the properties. And so on their end of the negotiation, if we waited to do that path, it's not gonna happen it's not gonna happen sooner, it's gonna happen later, and so, I mean,
So we're,
we both kind of share a sense of urgency, if that's a
Yeah.
way to put it. Does that make sense?
so the only thing we need to have happen is those signatures from the other two owners.
Which will all happen at the closing.
Yeah.
All
At
the,
the
all the
closing
signatures,
of parcel one.
closing of parcel one.
Do lenders have to agree to subordinate though?
Here's,
You said there were on
In-
parcel two, there's that our position would be subordinate to the liens that are already on there.
all lien holders would have to subordinate on the note,
There's nobody.
would have to sign the note. I don't know if there are banks. Is there
You
a
say-
bank that owns?
So we own parcel one outright. Parcel two, we have a note on there just over about 330,000. And, so our goal is to, pay off the alleyway, to pay off the restaurant, proceed with the second, you guys proceed with the second purchase of that parcel. So we can get it all done. And so those proceeds are gonna go to pay off, lenders. I got one lender on the parcel or on the alleyway area, and I got one lender on the restaurant.
He asked if it was a bank.
So DL Evans owns or has a lien on the alleyway, and the other is a seller financed lien on the restaurant.
So Gary, the lenders aren't gonna sign the note or the trust deed, but
No, they probably won't, but there should be more than enough equity in that parcel.
That restaurant's probably is well north of 100 or 1.5 million. So we're gonna have 400 some thousand. Your position is very safe. So what I have to do is free up the alleyway so that can be developed, pay off the restaurant so that we can split off the piece, that other parcel with you. And so, that's where the money's going.
But right now on parcel two, it does not include a bank, it includes owner financing.
It's just an owner finance for
yeah,
like 330,000. So if you wanted to do a appraisal on that, on just an income-based appraisal, it's well over 1.5 million. And so the total debt with the 108 or 106 or whatever, and that is what, about 450. So the LTV is really good. So you guys can foreclose on it and auction it if that was to happen and pay off all the debt, and you guys
we're not taking the restaurant though, right?
are not, this is gonna happen. This is,
Well,
you guys are not getting a $1.5 million property for 450,000.
no, but that's not given to us as security.
You guys will
Let's say we're
have
not
a
taking-
note and on there securing that whole property, you know. You guys will be in second position. That doesn't mean you can't foreclose on it. I've got 15 months to act on it and get it done. And so,
Parcel one and parcel two do not include a restaurant.
parcel two is there's actually four separate tax ID numbers there that encumber the restaurant. There's the second parcel has two tax IDs. There's like four altogether. It's kind of a mess back there. That's another thing the Morgan's gonna do is straighten up lot lines and combine parcels. It's kind of a mess back there, but
I think.
I'm not seeing, I'm seeing
There's-
two.
There's two parcels on one and two parcels on two.
well, the restaurant is part of what's encumbered. So you guys will actually be encumbering the restaurant, which is and those two apartments. And those two parcels that are separate there. So like I said, you guys will be encumbering the restaurant, the apartments, and those other two parcels all at once. So you guys will be in a great position.
Yeah, I like what you're saying, but I don't think our paperwork reflects that, Gary.
So it will. It will when it goes to the title company. The title company will actually, I need a title search to be done. We're gonna do title insurance to make sure that we get all of the owners, the proper owners, as signatories on the note and on the also on parcel one that we need. So all of that work still has to be done, and that's the agreement actually provides for that
So all of that will take place before we cut a check.
before we cut a check.
But it's not referencing these other properties, i.e. the restaurant in the resolution.
So the parcels that are identified in there,
Okay,
I think they do include,
Those parcels that are identified are the two parcels that you guys will be purchasing on the second transaction. But the whole place is encumbered by the first that's on there now. So you guys will be in second position, which could technically foreclose on all of it, not just those two parcels.
Which is why we need to unencumber it for you to be able to.
Yeah, I've got to free up the restaurant. It all has to be free and clear for me to pull off those two parcels.
mhm.
Cause you know, why would the seller finance guy let me do that? If it wasn't free and clear, he's not gonna.
So at that point, there would be a different property line for the restaurant than is now?
Right. Yeah, so you guys will own all the parking lot behind the restaurant, next to the coffee shop, all the way to the road at 125. You guys will be buying the alleyway it's gonna be a road for $1 from me. And, you know, in the end, you got $108,000 backing up. You guys could come out way ahead, so.
No,
I, if I want to get it back, I gotta come up with a lot, but I don't want, we're doing this for not just my business, but it's all the businesses around there. And to develop, behind the restaurant, that whole area, so there's a bigger picture here for sure.
and I can see it'll bring unity with the business owners.
Yeah, oh, yeah, there's,
So Steve, I've probably got maybe
You got a motion?
15 or 20 minutes more of discussion, but I see we're out of time. Do we want to continue with discussion or? Do it for
Any
another-
other feelings? From Jeff, Tony?
Okay.
So parcel two, it has to become unencumbered. It has some liens on it, correct? Are these liens held by private individuals or held by banks?
the seller finance, but
Seller
you know,
finance.
whether it's a bank or it's seller finance,
Still.
they're the same thing. It does, you know, your foreclosures the same, would happen the same way were that to happen, whether it's a bank or a seller financing. It's all treated the same in the court system, right?
Unless they don't want
So
to
there's no
pay it.
difference between whether it's bank one or Joe that has a seller financing. It's all foreclosed in the same manner.
But what if they don't want an early payoff?
They don't have a choice. There's no prepayment penalty. I can pay it off. Yeah.
That's in place.
What's
Okay.
that?
There is no prepayment
There's
plan.
no prepayment penalty, and yeah, that's gonna happen.
so we want the money first.
For this to work, I have to have the money first to
We
pay
don't
off this
necessarily
other
want the
stuff.
property, but we want the money first, but we do have the property as backup in case as collateral.
As long as you have those two in the agreement with their signature, we're okay. That's what I can see in my mind. I can't see us losing if we have those signatures. And then at that point, we negotiate where the property line is in the back of the restaurant.
I think they've actually surveyed it and they know where it will be. Isn't that correct?
Say that again. You know, the back of the restaurant, when we get parcel two, there'll be a property line there. Have we found out what that distance is?
Yeah, that's
Some of this
it's in the
here.
exhibit. Yeah, it has a survey and we'll have a property description.
This is the new survey.
Yeah, that red area will be the new.
May I ask a question?
Grease.
Mayor, may I ask Gary a question?
Sure,
Sort of a
yes.
Point of order question. There's only three of us here tonight, right? We'd have to be unanimous to pass this, correct? If we made a motion and it didn't pass, then what's the outcome of that?
Hmm.
I mentioned that we probably have some time to continue if we,
Because I'm afraid if you made a motion and it didn't pass tonight, because it would have to be unanimous, then what?
right. And
There's no restriction on bringing it back the next meeting if you wanted to, or continuing it. I guess you could do both of those things.
Doesn't kill it.
No, just delay it.
Well, I have to have,
Oh, yeah,
March 15th, I've got to have the one loan paid off.
that's
So
true.
that's where there's more incentive than just making it all happen. March 15th, I've got to pay it off and I owe about, what are we on? About 80,000 right now on it. So this deal needs to happen. I feel like you guys are pretty safe in covering the restaurant and everything. You're in a good position. You can foreclose on it if that were to happen. What's your feeling, Gary, as far as safety?
Well, I wouldn't lead you to do something that wasn't safe for you. That's,
Well, that's the way I feel when you've clarified in my mind that the other two people that have the lien would have to be on this, approve of it with their signature, so that the risk is gone at that point. And that's the way I see what's happening.
let's. Okay, here's a thought. I've got one other item to bring up, probably do it in 5 minutes. Since we've already quarter after.
I'm okay with extending the meeting.
Okay.
Um,
And then
It's a work meeting.
the, I think I would then leave to Gary the details that I would probably otherwise like to have myself, but would have enough confidence, of course, in you that the details on the security and the position that we're in would leave up to you to make sure we're in the spot that we want to be. And let me bring up just this one other piece here, and then I think I'd be okay. Page 2 on the agreement, land purchase agreement. Item number 10 says the city agrees to improve the property. That's our part of the agreement, but go up to 9 in default if it says special provisions city, that should probably be agency,
agency, yeah,
by the way, but
that's correct.
back on number 9, default, if agency refuses to proceed with the transaction and complete the contract according to its terms and conditions. In other words, if we didn't get the property improved, the way I'm reading that, seller shall retain title. That appears to me that it, regardless of what we paid for it, and if we don't do our improvements, title reverts back to the seller.
Which one are you? I'm sorry. I kind of followed you.
No worries.
Number 10.
Yeah, number 10, special provisions for the agency. It says city there, but we'll put and again, the agency agrees to improve the property
We need to change
with
that.
public uses, including parking, right of way, curb gutter, If, in other words, if we didn't do that, we're in default of our agreement.
I don't believe there's a timeline on that part of it, though. And a definition of improvement could be very generous.
But that's, the number 9
But you're right,
is the
it
concern
should
there,
revert
Gary.
back to me. That should be removed or reworded, however.
It says if agency refuses, I mean, maybe we try in good faith and can't do it. Maybe that's not refusing. I don't know. But the part that's concerning there is seller shall retain title and recover any actual damages done to the real property. And I'm assuming it says shall retain title. Is that parcel 1? Is it parcel 2? Or the title that's been, well, this is the land purchase agreement, not the trust deed note.
No, we strike number 9.
I'd feel better.
Yeah.
We could. What is meant there is to follow through with the purchase, but I see your point, Dave. I think it's a good point. Strike 9 if you guys are okay with it.
Feeling better.
Yeah, good catch. Good catch.
Thank you.
Okay,
It's the easiest way to reword something.
yeah.
Is the agency handling for the cities? Is it
Agency.
the agency will put in the improvements?
Yeah. Yeah, so, just for councils. Well, just so I want to make sure you're clear. So this is an RDA project. We're gonna put RDA funds towards it, and I've checked with the accountant and we can transfer the asset once it's completed to the city with no mixing of funds. So that's why Denise is asking, because we're gonna we're gonna be putting in a little bit of city money by the time everything's said and done, some road money. But it'll end up in ownership of the city, even though the RDA developed the project. But that's not for this transaction. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's the
Just
agency
for us to
that's,
do.
yeah,
So everything's agency.
agencies
Everything's
is doing the agreement, right?
Right.
Yeah,
And
we
the
need to
improvement.
change that
Yeah,
to
Okay.
agency from city to agency.
okay. So Gary, I would ask then, in fact, if pay particular attention to the very first paragraph of the land purchase agreement, when you look at it, it appears to me that we don't have the serial numbers correct on that, or all of them. But rather than spend time right now to go over it, I'll leave it to you to say that serial numbers, parcel numbers will include the two parcels plus the restaurant, it appears. Is it fair?
Yes, and
Okay.
I didn't have usually I'll have a title report or a PR, a preliminary title report, but I didn't have anything on this, so.
I'm thinking the way this is showing the parcels, it wouldn't include the upper restaurant piece, so.
Yeah.
It, from what I'm seeing, but I would leave that to you to,
We'll check the title report before we sign it.
Besides the parcel numbers and serial numbers in the agreement. And those two parcels that are in parcel two. I pulled the tax records and took that parcel and serial number. So the parcel and serial number is for this entire parcel.
just go to, do you have this that you could bring up?
Yes. Let me see if I've got it in there.
I think what you're asking was that we check the serial numbers and the titles to make sure they include the restaurant and the whole parcel.
Correct.
Yes, we'll do that. We'll make sure we do that.
Yeah, it may be correct, Denise. And again, I think we could discuss it, but it'd take another,
Yeah, we're fine.
it'd take probably another 10 or 15 minutes.
Parcel.
Parcel and the serial number for the restaurant. So right here is the restaurant, is that correct, Deb?
Yeah,
That parcel goes all the way down here. So if you click on that, it shows all that blue, that's that whole parcel.
Right, but you're referencing as security parcels 1 and 2, which have been surveyed.
you guys will be getting this parcel and this parcel. This parcel and this parcel will be split off, so it
We don't
leaves
have new parcel numbers.
the restaurant, will have, this will have its own and the apartments will have their own. But you guys will be getting this area and this will go across here. In the first purchase, you'll get this one and you'll get this. And then second purchase, like I said, those two. And then I'll just be left with the buildings. And enough parking for the 2 tenants in front of the apartments that I did. So it's gonna a little bit of title work, survey work, but yeah, that's,
But it's to our advantage.
we'll make sure we're all on the same page on that.
Because it includes the building.
But
It has been surveyed but not recorded.
Has not been.
yeah,
Well-
but I think his request to Gary is valid, and I think Gary can.
Make that happen.
I mean, right now, as I understand it, we've got all of the documentation references these 2 properties, both parcel 1 and 2, but none of the documentation shows a restaurant in there. If it's parcel 1 and 2, which are the red lines. So
And they're in there for the purpose of referencing what we want to acquire, right?
Yeah, and so it may be that uh, again, we could spend time tonight to make sure that the details are correct, but
Parcel number and on parcel two, you won't have any parcel numbers for those properties until the commission separates them off and the recorder gives those parcel numbers.
I know, but then,
So right now, it's the entire parcel,
Which includes the building.
which includes the
yeah,
building.
well, yeah, but we've got everything referencing parcel 1 and 2, and there's parcel 1 and 2, and that doesn't include a building that in everything, those are two parcels.
I think that just kind of includes what the purchase is. So it is gonna be a two-part. The first one won't encumber it all, but once you guys buy the second once you buy the second parcel, the restaurant will be split off, and like I said, new parcel numbers will be generated. And,
You're actually picking up a lien against a third parcel. The restaurant's one big parcel. That's gonna get cut in half. You're going to get the southern half of the lot. And then you're gonna file a lien against the new, what's left of the parcel, of the restaurant parcel.
And what's important is what's in the note.
What's that?
What's important is the descriptions in the note. It needs to contain those 3 parcels. And here, we're just referring to just encumbering what we're going to purchase.
It's sort of.
But it will
a-
extend beyond that. The note will extend beyond that because the parcels haven't been subdivided yet. But we're identifying what we want to purchase in the end. But in the note, it will have to have all 3 parcels,
Okay.
all parcels that have a piece.
And a
In there.
first position on all 3 parcels,
That's,
which includes the entirety of the restaurant. I mean, we don't want half of a restaurant.
you're not getting any of the restaurant.
Yeah,
So
I'm just teasing you, but yes, yeah.
With the red line and what
At
that
first, it
parcel
will
is.
encumber the restaurant and everything, but once the second purchase goes through, you guys will just have the lot, parking area, and we'll have a separate ID for the restaurant, separate ID for the apartments.
okay, but to clarify what Dave's saying, he's asking whether or not we would have a first position with the note on all 3 parcels. If we were to foreclose, is that note going to be recorded against all 3 parcels as a first position?
Is there 3 parcels on the restaurant attached to all that?
It would have to be it looks like the note would have to contain all 3 parcels, right? Because they're not subdivided off right
Yeah,
now.
you guys would have lien against this, and
Sorry, Mayor, I should refer.
I
yeah,
don't see.
these lines are not very good.
the two.
Because there's a teeny tiny one.
Parcel.
Oh, I thought it was touch screen.
It's a giant iPad.
Parcel there.
Back there, anyway, yeah, so there's a fourth one, that's just.
But everybody needs to agree that just the land that's being purchased
Mhm.
in the end. But
Well, if you never default, we'll never discuss it.
what's that?
If you never default, we'll never discuss it.
It is not gonna
I
happen.
know you don't intend to do
It is
that.
not happening.
So all 3 parcels would be in there, and my understanding is that we will have a lien. The promissory note will act as a lien against all 3 parcels.
Whatever's associated with the restaurant that's
Right.
encumbered. I don't know how many parcel it is, because you got little pieces and,
Okay, yeah,
but whatever's encumbered by that note,
but the purchase will only, that's the reason we need to go through the planning commission, get that parcel split done so that we can actually divide off what they're going to give us for $100 and whatever $1,000 from what he's got. And at that time, we release the note. We don't need the note anymore. So the note only comes into play if he's not able to do what he says he's going to do, which is do a lot split, convey parcel 2 to us, and take 106,000 or 108,000 for them within 15 months.
Within 15.
Starting when we
Mhm.
close on parcel 1.
That's correct.
When would that be? If this passes?
Before the 15th of March, because he's got to settle up with the bank before the 14th
So
of March.
here's,
Title report.
brings up another question. We get to the 15-month period and there's no interest till then. Okay, but beginning on the 16th month, interest accrues. So there's interest accruing. I imagine it's paid monthly, but no principal for 5 years. Just wondering why that's drawn out so long also. I'm wondering if we could reduce the
I believe
15
you guys
month.
have the right to foreclose after the 15th.
Yeah, we
month.
can-
I
No, I
don't
don't.
know.
Those right away.
Well,
Where are you getting that from, Dave? I'm sorry.
yeah, there was a 5-year period. It's
Just trying to maximize our interest.
yeah,
I'm just kidding.
10%'s not
but we're
bad,
not a bank
guys.
either. Where did I see that?
And the
On
trust
the
deed
top
note,
of page 3.
Is it?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was,
So are you looking at the
Wait.
trustee?
trust deed note, it's in the trust deed note.
No.
that's okay. Where did you see it, Tony?
Trust deed note.
Paragraph.
Oh, here we go, second paragraph. Payments, yeah, so I guess that brings up a little bit of a question as to the due date on the whole deal. Payments made shall be applied first, to principal and then interest and principal. In the event that the amount due, accrued interest, or any portion thereof remains unpaid 5 years from the effective date, the holder of this note declare the entire balance principal. I mean, can we move that up? I mean, why do we need 5 years?
Yeah, we don't need 5 years.
Yeah. I'm gonna say you got 15 months.
I
and
think
then-
there was some cutting and pasting going on there, but yeah, I don't need that.
Can we
that
say,
long of a period.
What time period would be a good time period? Within the 15 months?
well, I mean, that'd be, it seemed like everything's got to happen by 15 months.
15 months, yeah, it's kind of where
After
it needs to be performed
after-
on.
15 months, there's really nothing else going on that we need to
Yeah.
spend time on.
15 months, I either give you the money back or
Yeah,
um,
so that could also be,
Mhm.
the note could be due and payable in 15
Within
months. then.
15 months.
Okay,
So we
I'm
can
good with
change
that.
that as
Yeah.
well. Let's do it.
I'm good with that, yeah, that's fine.
You'll be paying it back before then anyway, so.
yeah, I like, I mean, that's best for both you and the.
It is. I'm either gonna
Let's
give you the
have a
money back or we're
definite
gonna make this thing happen.
Period, and then we move on, whatever it
Yeah.
is. Okay,
Let's see that again.
Sounds good.
all right.
Let it be written.
Uh, to make a resolution, Gary, can that also include the provisions of you reviewing the position that we're in?
Certainly.
Okay,
Yeah, and when we get the title information, we'll review that too.
Okay.
I'll make sure we review that before we
Okay.
approve it, so.
well, Mayor or Chair of the redevelopment agency, I'd be prepared to make a motion.
Okay, I'm trying to get what you guys were just talking about. Electronically,
Right there.
Right.
there we go.
Here's what he was reading.
Just the second paragraph of the trust deed note. Yeah, down a little bit.
Okay.
Right here. Catching up technologically.
Yeah,
My hair's gray, so therefore I'm not supposed to know, right?
How many teenagers here, so.
So Doug, this is when you start holding your breath.
what was that?
Just so you know, this is the point when you hold your breath.
Okay, so
Okay.
I think I got my head around it.
Okay.
So Dave, I would like to entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve resolution R 24-07. A resolution adopting, approving a land purchase agreement between Morgan City Redevelopment Agency and Doug Buys Utah Homes LLC for the purchase of property located near the intersection of 125 North, 425 East, Morgan, Utah. Authorizing Ty Bailey, Executive Director, to conduct further negotiations for the completion of the transaction. And also including a review by legal counsel that assures the position of the redevelopment agency and is being unencumbered in a first position on 3 properties. Let's not say on properties. There's more than 3, isn't there? Okay.
Parcel 2, within the identified parcel 2, which is an Exhibit B.
Within the identified parcel 2, which includes a restaurant building. Do we need to include the change in the terms, or is that
9.
Number 9, you want to strike number 9.
We're gonna,
also that number?
It's in the trust in the land agreement,
Yeah,
purchase agreement.
item number
9, right.
section number 9 of the land purchase agreement is struck from the agreement. And paragraph 2 of the trustee note, the 5-year maturity date is reduced to 15 months.
Denise, would you repeat that?
Hold on, let me just record.
That's recorded.
I will,
I think I got them.
I will second that.
Before we second, is there any more discussion?
Well, let's second it first and then you can.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Now, is there any more discussion?
I've got 30 more now.
Okay,
It changes.
we have a motion from Dave. I won't try to repeat what the motion said, but it's recorded. And then a second from Tony. Jeffrey,
Aye.
Tony,
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Okay, Denise, that makes it unanimous, so thank you.
Thank you, guys.